Turn it over to
hello everyone.
Let's see, let me first share my screen real quick.
This is Ari Lawson with Vitalink. Be sure to go ahead and mute yourselves as you come in. We are with a great group today, the Segerstrom Center for the Arts. They have some amazing feedback for you about their company. Be sure to mute yourself as you're coming in, okay? And I'll put it in the chat as well. So students and teachers, if you can hear me, be sure to mute your Zoom device.
나도 못해?
Here we go, that works. Okay. All right. So again, welcome to the first live panel. We are with Segerstrom Center for the Arts. I'm Ari, I'm with Vitalink. I'm just here in case any of you all need help with your audio. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Miss Bethany, who will introduce herself and her team. And thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to see so many of you. We're excited to have you here. My name is Bethany, and I'm the manager of education programs at Segerstrom Center for the Arts. And we're really happy to be able to speak with you today about some careers behind the curtain. So a lot of you may know that there's actors and directors and even designers involved with the theater, but at a large performing arts center, we have a lot of careers available. So if you like the arts and end up not following the pathway of being a performer or even a designer or director, there are many options available for you. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit about that. I'm going to start with sort of an overview of the center, a little bit of information about the center, and then a little bit about our departments at the center. And then I'm going to hand it off to some of our amazing staff members at the center who are going to talk more about their roles and their departments. And then at the end, we will have time for questions. So I hope that you have plenty and we're happy to answer those for you. So to get started here, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the center for those of you who I know you all come from different knowledge bases. Some of you may have been to the center a lot. Some of you may never have been. But Segerstrom Center for the Arts was founded in 1986. So we've been around a while. We are a nonprofit arts organization. Unlike a lot of other centers where you might find Broadway shows, we are a nonprofit, which means not only do we earn income from ticket sales, but we also have contributed income. People who donate, grants, things of that nature. And also that means we have a mission to serve our community. So every dollar that we earn needs to be put back into those programs that serve the community. We are a performing arts center, so we have a lot of performances. We have theater, we have music, we have dance. Within that, we have jazz and chamber music. We've got family shows, Broadway shows. So we have a little something for everybody. We have a lot of venues at the center when we're up and running, and it's not COVID times. We have several different performance venues. If you've been to the center, a lot of you probably been to Segerstrom Hall, our large 3,000 seat hall where we do our Broadway and dance performances. We also have a state-of-the-art concert hall, which seats 2,000. That's mainly for music events. And then we also have some smaller spaces, as well as our public plaza where we have performances as well. And because we're a not-for-profit company, we also have a lot of great education programs and community engagement programs. Again, part of our mission to serve the community. So not only are we presenting performances, but we're creating things like camps and classes at the center. We have partnerships with community organizations and outreach programs. So there's a lot of wonderful things happening at the center on any given day. And one other distinction to make for us, a lot of students come to me and ask if we have internships or jobs in design or acting or directing, and we don't. And the main reason for that is because we're a presenting house rather than a producing house, which means that when we present something, it's already fully staffed and fully created. So another company has hired the actors and the director and the designers, and then it comes to us like that. So we don't directly hire those roles, but we do have a lot of great positions, including some backstage positions, which we'll talk about later. Now we'll talk a little bit about some career pathways at the center. And just to give you a brief overview, because I do need to keep it brief, we have a lot of great speakers. I'm going to just show you a screen here that has all of our departments that we have at the center. Just to give you an idea of what kind of careers are available to you in the arts. So you may be aware that there's a theater operations department that handles everything from your backstage crew all the way to security and engineering and other things that help our building function. But within that, you'll also see we have a human resources department. We have an IT department. We have a finance department. So if you love the arts, but decide on one of those career pathways, there's no reason why you can't marry the two and do that kind of work in a performing arts center. That's what our staff is. Our staff are people who are experts in their career fields, but all really have a dedication and passion for the arts. So you'll just see here the wide variety of options that you have available. And we are going to have speakers from a couple of these departments to talk more about them. And the last thing I wanted to cover is internships. You're going to hear about careers of the arts and hear from staff of the arts, but we also do have a robust internship program. These internships are specifically for college students, so this would be looking ahead for you all, but I know some of you are graduating this year and will be starting at a college or university. So we do have these internships available both in fall and spring. We have academic internships for credit, and then we have summer paid internships. And this really will give you a professional experience where you can do hands-on work. We have professional development sessions. This program we're really proud of it at the center. We've had over 100 interns in our 11 years doing this program. And while we don't guarantee any employment following your internship, we have had about 20% of our interns who go on to work at the center. And that's really because those internships not only allow you that hands-on work, but it allows you to network and meet people. And so it's a great way to get your foot in the door. So I highly recommend maybe not interning with us, but interning somewhere during your college years. So it'll really help you learn a bit more about the business and have a hands-on, sometime doing hands-on, and make sure that it's something you love before you commit to it after you graduate. So having said that, that's my little overview about the center. I'm now going to hand it off to Sarah Broadhead's going to start us off. She's the head electrician for Segerstrom Hall, and she's going to talk a lot more about that production side of things, which I'm sure most of you are really interested in. So Sarah, take it away.
Thank you, Bethany. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for welcoming all of us here. It's nice to see so many of you that are excited and enthusiastic about hearing about jobs at the center. As head electrician, I had a crazy path, but a fun path on my way to being head electrician. And that started when I was 14 and I was working in high school theater. I fell in love with theater, but also have always been very interested in math. So when I went to college, I majored in both theater technical design as well as accounting. So I have a degree in both of those things. And then after college, I went and I got my master's in lighting design from UC Irvine. Brought me to the West Coast because it's far too cold where I grew up in Michigan, and I didn't want to go to the East Coast to enjoy my master's. From there, I went and I had the opportunity to go and do a lot of industrials and corporate events. So one of the ones that I love to tell people about is I got to go to Hawaii, which sounds super exciting, except after loading in a show for 18 hours on the beach, it started to rain. And then I had to go spend all day tearing it back out after only sleeping for 3 hours. So that lifestyle didn't suit me for very long. I had been at the center prior to being employed by the center as a designer. We came in and we would do shows with the company that I worked with that did corporates and industrials. And I knew I liked the center. I liked what they produced. From the time I was very young, I was very excited about musical theater. So when I decided that I didn't want to travel and tour as much anymore, I took the opportunity to apply for the position at the center as the assistant head electrician. My former boss was Aaron Jepson, or who we called Jeppy. He was a wonderful guy and I miss him a lot, but we always knew that he was planning to move back to Nebraska. But I still did have to apply to the head position when he departed. And I've been in that position now for 8 years. I've been with the center for 10. I love my job and it's very exciting and I really miss doing shows. One of the most fun things that we get to do though, as much as we are a producing house and presenting house, sometimes we do produce our own shows. So last year, right before we had to close down, we were presenting and producing a brand new ballet. We work with American Ballet Theater on a very regular basis, and we have a great partnership with them. So it's always fun to be part of the development process, which is something that I get to do. As the head electrician, I am, for the upcoming show that we're going to do with them, going to be the programmer. I'm doing all of the work beforehand to make sure that all of the equipment that they are bringing in electrically is working and we provide anything they need for when they come to do their show. And that's the same thing that I do with any of the shows that are like that. It doesn't matter if they're coming from Russia or Italy. I'm usually working on the shows sometimes years, but at least months before they arrive. For a Broadway show, it's much easier on my shoulders because I don't have any design elements. I'm just making sure that I am in charge of the crew and managing who knows how to get where and who knows how to do what each of the shows require. Because some of the shows, if you've seen them on a Tuesday night, there are definitely ones that we've started at 3 o'clock that morning, loading them in for them to open for you that evening. So it doesn't matter what kind of show that you've come to see. I've been involved with many of them on Segerstrom stage, as well as a few in the plaza and the concert hall. So if you've been in there in the last decade, you've probably seen a show that I've worked on. One of the other experiences that I've had the opportunity to do in partnership with American Ballet Theater is I got to travel to Hong Kong in 2018 because we produced the first performance of one of American Ballet Theater's shows, and then they took me with them to help produce the show when it was going to Hong Kong. So really exciting and awesome experiences. Some of the other positions that are available backstage, they're all union positions to be able to work on the shows that are coming in, the Broadways and the ballets. So I've been a member of our local 504 union for about 9.5 years because you have about 6 months after you begin working backstage until you have to apply to be part of the union. But there's positions in scenery and all kinds of stagecraft. Also props, wardrobe. If you like heights, I have lots of friends who enjoy being riggers, and they're the people who, if you see a drop flying in, they're in charge of that. If you've seen the chandelier flying in, they're in charge of that. In the props world, if you enjoy working with musicians, the prop people, they do painting and a lot of working with musicians. So they get their hands on the scenery on a very regular basis. If you have a flair for design and hair and makeup, there's positions in the union that do that as well, which is a very exciting opportunity, especially when we're doing brand new shows, because you're helping develop what a character is going to look like on stage for the very first time. And that is very exciting. And it's also very exciting to go see a costume that's worth $25,000 and is only going to be on stage for about 30 seconds. So the magic behind the scenes is a great opportunity. You don't have to have a background in theater like I did to go into theater. Our technical director has his bachelor's degree in English and history. So there's all kinds of ways that you can get into theater. From the union side, you can get on our casual list, which means so for like Blizzard, when they have BlizzCon every year, and you want to go work at the convention center and just kind of see behind the scenes for the setup, you can go do that. And then maybe over the summer, there's going to be a concert that has, 18 semi trucks and it's your favorite band, and you might get to help load them in. Things like that are a lot of fun. There's tons of opportunities within the center that you can find something that you are excited about and that you will enjoy. But I have two pieces of information that I want all of you to try and remember, whether you want to come work at the center backstage or not, for any job that you're going for. I want you to make sure that you're wearing appropriate clothing. I say that because we have people who try to walk backstage in their flip-flops. And I have scenery that's 2,000 pounds coming in, and there's nails and there's dangerous things. So yes, that's something that I'm concerned about for your safety on a regular basis, but also if you're working in an office environment, being dressed professionally or comfortably, but for the climate is a good idea. And lastly, always remember that every person that you meet and you work with, you learn something from. Even if you don't like that person, even if you don't get along with that person, you're learning something from them. But also, you will learn so much if you are open to it with every person you encounter. And now it is Kay's turn to talk to you.
Hi, I'm so happy to have this opportunity to talk with you. I'm Kay Burnham. I am the Vice President of Guest Services for Segerstrom Center for the Arts. And my career path is highly unusual, especially in this day and age. I did start on this when I was, as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a performer. I was dancing and acting all the way. I got to college and was so excited to major in drama. And I did for a while. And then I needed a job. And this was in the very, very early days of the center being open. And I thought, wow, there's a job answering the phones at the center. What a better job for someone who wants to be in theater. This is fantastic. So I applied and I got a part-time job while I was going to college, answering the information lines and telling people about the shows that were coming to the center. And then I left and I went off and I did some acting. I did a local touring show and some other things. And when I was done with that, I looked back at the center and I came back to the center and I worked in marketing for about a year while I was going to college again. And then real world hit and I needed to figure out where I was really going to go. And I had decided along the way that maybe the life of a performer, the financial instability, the always wondering where my next job was coming from, wasn't quite what I wanted to be doing. And so I started pursuing the job in ticketing. And I started selling tickets at our box office window as a full-time job. And I did that for a while. And then I got the bug. The career that I have is one that most people will tell you they fell into. People don't go to college thinking, I want to sell tickets. But the career is so much more than that. And at the center, I was lucky enough to be growing in my career at the same pace that the center was growing as an organization. And so every time I was ready to take that next step in my career and move up, there happened to be a place for me to do that at the center. So I've actually spent this coming July, 28 years at the center, working my way up from selling tickets at the box office window to being the vice president overseeing 3 different sections of our company. And what guest services does is we do all of the ticketing, but we are also all of the front of house staff, all of the ushers that you encounter. So we provide an end-to-end customer journey and customer success for every patron that we encounter. I also have a small team of people that work on, they're sort of like junior IT people. They don't have IT degrees. They are not IT professionals, but the work they do for us is in our ticketing system, maintaining all of our data and events, not only for the center and the presentations that we do, but also for our resident companies. So we provide a service center as well. Guest services also oversees all of our accessibility programs. So it's very important at the center that we provide the arts in a way that's accessible to all in our community. So we offer open captioning, sign language interpretation, audio description, and sensory friendly performances. And I have someone who is fairly focused on making sure that all of those services are happening, they're happening appropriately, that our website is updated with information, that it's made accessible to people, that everyone can come and enjoy the arts. So there are, as you've seen, a number of things you can do in guest services. And while selling tickets may sound simple, it can be a highly complex operation. It touches every avenue of the company. We work with backstage because we have to understand their technical requirements, and sometimes seats in our hall need to be killed for projectors or lighting or because of obstructions on the stage. Our seats are actually flexible in many of our halls, and so we need to make sure we have the right front row. I'll tell you, we don't always get it right, although we've gotten better. We also work with development. We spend a lot of time helping them with events that they're doing that may be connected to public performances, with the ticketing. We also work with them to encourage our patrons to donate to us when they're in the ticketing process. And of course, we work with education all the time in a myriad of ways, but one of my favorite is mostly with our sensory-friendly performances, because they predominantly are in our family series, which education programs. You can enter ticketing, you can enter front of house work in just about any way. You just go out and apply. But one of the best things when you're in college theater departments are always looking for students who want to work front of house and box office. You can take classes that will teach you some of these skills, but you can just go and say, hey, I want to be involved in the theater. And generally they'll let you because they're desperate for people to do that. It's a good way to try it out and see what you like. At the center, once you're 18 years old, you can actually become a volunteer usher at the center. You can simply go to our website and find volunteer opportunities and apply. And we do when we're working. Recruitment's a couple of times a year, but that's a great way. It's a low commitment. You can get in, and as a volunteer, you get to be inside the house when the show is going on. So you get to see the shows for free as a volunteer usher at the center. It's a great way to see if you want to go further in your career at the center. The advice that I would give you is don't be intimidated by a large institution like Segerstrom Center for the Arts. It can be very intimidating to walk onto the campus with all of these venues and all of this activity and everything going on. But we really are super excited for every single person that walks onto our campus. And we will do everything we can to make you feel welcome. Don't be intimidated to just go to a website of a company you want to work for and see if they have a job and apply for it. Don't feel like you have to go through a career center or something. If there's a company you love and it's doing something you love, go for it. Look at the jobs they have, look at the skills they require, and if you don't have them, build them. That's the best way to find out what you need to do for the career you want. And on that note, I will turn it over to Malika.
Thanks, Kay. So Kay touched on what development is, but I'll give you guys an overview of that because I doubt that most of you know what that word means. Development or advancement, fundraising is usually the more common term. So I work in the fundraising department of development, and there's a lot of roles within development that don't involve asking for money. Personally, I love asking for money. That's what I do. But even if you don't want that, there's a role for you. So a development shop might have anywhere from 1 to 500 people. And the larger the organization, the more development folks and the more specialized it will be. We have a pretty big development team. It's about 20 full-time folks. So we have specialized roles. So one of the roles is special events. And we have people that plan our parties. Some of them are fundraisers like a gala. Other organizations do golf outings or pancake breakfasts or walk runs like Susan G. Komen. You might have heard of that one. And at the center, we do a lot of events in conjunction with shows. So in addition to fundraisers where people pay money to attend, we also do events to make our donors feel special and feel like they're part of it. They might donate a certain amount of money per year and then get the opportunity to come to cast parties or get to come to special presentations with Broadway actors. So that's a big part of fundraising at the center, is those special events that we do for our donors. Grant writing is another big area for nonprofits. And if you like writing, you like English, and you're not super keen on asking for money face-to-face, grant writing is a great solid career. You can write grants to foundations or to the government, depending on your organization. Some of it can be very technical. There's a lot of reporting out about who exactly was served, how are you going to use the money, but it's certainly a creative role as well, especially when you're crafting a narrative about how the foundation can have an impact on your organization and its mission. We also get corporate support. That could be a company like Taco Bell or Bank of America, any kind of company. And they have different motivations for giving. The three biggest ones, and sometimes they cross over. One would be mission alignment. For example, Chipotle, the burrito place, is all about supporting small farmers and sustainable agriculture. So most of their charity work is to things that support green energy or organic farming. Sometimes it's because they want to align their brand with your patrons. So for example, Tiffany & Company will sponsor our presentation of American Ballet Theater's Nutcracker every year, because they think that people that buy ballet tickets also buy diamond bracelets, and they are probably right. So we support that. Another thing is client hospitality. Sometimes they want to bring their clients to something you're doing, and that's particularly relevant at an arts organization where, for example, Memorial Care might sponsor a Broadway show, and then they bring their top vendors or doctors to come and enjoy a private dinner before the performance, or they buy a table to your gala because your gala is very sought after. So corporate support can be very important. There's also volunteer management. The center has over 24 support groups and volunteer groups throughout the county, and they were actually what started the center before we ever opened in 1986. Starting in the 70s, there was groups of people doing bake sales and bridge tournaments and silent auctions to raise money for this organization. So we have professional staff in the development department that work with those volunteers to support them, help them run their meetings, make sure their bank accounts are correct. And of course, thanking them because they're working tirelessly on our behalf. So we want to make sure they know how much we appreciate them. A really important thing that almost every organization has is some kind of annual fund or direct mail program. The center has over 8,000 donors. So we are always mailing, sending emails, doing telefunding, and direct mail means basically mailing letters to people's household. But these days, email campaigns are pretty common as well, and they're a lot less costly because you're not paying for postage. So the annual fund and direct mail program is really big at every organization because it provides the base for your donor pyramid. And then that's where you kind of can find the diamonds in the rough, for some donors that might have the capabilities to make even larger gifts, which leads me into major gifts, which is what I really love to do. Major gifts usually means that somebody's giving at the top echelons of your organization. For the center, that means usually around $25,000 we consider a major gift, but at a smaller place like an animal shelter, a major gift might be $5,000, or UC Irvine, they don't blink for anything less than $100,000. It's scaled by the organization. At the major gifts level, donors are used to a lot of one-on-one attention They also typically like to designate their gift versus someone in a mailing might just send $500 and not specify what it's for. Usually for a major gift, they want it to be for your hospital's emergency room, or they want to underwrite a ballet, or they want it to be for a scholarship. So at that higher level, you're talking to these people multiple times a year. You know them pretty well. You're often one of their favorite charities. That's why I like it, because you really get to know people, you know their stories. A lot of my job is taking people out to lunch to give them updates, taking them to a school to see their philanthropy in action, taking them backstage to meet some ballerinas of a show they sponsored. I really enjoy those relationships. There's also planned giving, which is working with people to include your organization in their estate plans. They might bequest money or real estate or a charitable trust to you. That can be very technical. So if you're really good with math and numbers, planned giving could be good for you. If you also like numbers and computers, we have prospects researchers and database people. Prospect research means basically snooping. If you love to stalk people on IG, this is for you. There's all sorts of fun, creepy software where you can see how expensive people's houses are, how much money you think they have, what other organizations they support. And then you can kind of target people based on, okay, if they gave to this humane society, maybe they're interested in my animal charity. It's a little bit creepy, but very useful, and every organization does it. So we don't feel bad about it. We're just doing what everyone else does. And then gift processing. There's people that have to make sure the money goes to the right place, keep track of the donor records. And lastly, stewardship. We are very lucky at the center that we're a large enough team. We have someone dedicated to helping us thank donors and create these beautiful reports that let donors know what we're doing with their money, or sending them birthday cards. Sometimes we put candy on people's seats when they come to the center to thank them for their support. And those little touches are really important because donors have so many choices about where they could give. We really want them to know how special they are. So I, like Kay, have been at the center a while, but not nearly as long. I've been there almost 11 years, but I've been in 5 different positions. The entire time I've been in individual giving, meaning asking money from individuals like you or your parents rather than companies and foundations, but I've grown my areas of responsibility. So currently in my role, I'm the Associate Vice President for Development, and I work a lot with our board of directors. I do a lot of major gifts work, and I oversee individual giving, volunteer groups, and development operations. Development operations being the database stuff, stewardship, and at the center, concierge ticketing. So it's a fun place to work. I like working at the center because it's large enough that there's room for growth, and you're able to stay longer, which has been great for me. That's something to consider when you're looking for your first job. I got my first job in development. I did an internship at my college, University of Michigan, right after I graduated, in their Department of Internal Medicine, which is their healthcare system. And I worked there for a couple of years doing major gifts work. And then I've been at the center ever since. So my advice is to get a job in development, because there's always jobs anywhere you want to live, whether it's a city or a small town. There's always going to be a hospital or a library or a school or a food bank or animal shelter, and they all need funding. So if you have a job in development, you will always have a job. And my other advice is, as much as you can, do internships, do informational interviews. Maybe the company that you want to work at doesn't have any openings, but most people will be happily spend 20 minutes with you to talk about their career, let you buy them coffee. And then when they do have a position, they might think of you and remember that you took the initiative to reach out to them. And you'll definitely learn something along the way. And now, Talina Mara, another center long-timer, will tell you about our education department.
Thank you so much, Malika. Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here with you tonight. I'm really, really happy that you're here to learn more about Segerstrom Center. We're excited to talk, as you can tell, about our careers in the arts. And I am the Vice President of Education at Segerstrom Center for the Arts. And let me just tell you a little bit about my background, because it's in some ways very similar to some of the others you've heard. I started off as a student your age who was very involved in choir. I was involved in theater at my high school and also at my middle or junior high school. I was terribly active and did an awful lot of that. And then when it came time for college, I actually got a scholarship, a voice scholarship for my singing. And so I went to university, I went to undergraduate school and got a degree in music. But I also had taught some in my life at my church and at different places in my community where I grew up. And so I also knew that I loved teaching. And so at the same time that I was getting my music degree, I was also getting a teaching degree, and I was becoming a chorus teacher. So a music teacher for all levels. I can teach grades K through 12. And so I was doing those things at the same time. And it took me 5 years to get both degrees, but then I left my home state, my hometown, and I went to graduate school. I went to conservatory in Boston, and eventually, after a while, ended up in New York City as an opera singer. And I went there to live and really start to sing. And meantime, I did quite a lot of teaching as well for students at the high school level, like most of you or even all of you. So I had these two career paths coming together. I had both the artistic, like the singing career, but I also had the teaching career. And while I was in New York City, those paths began to come together. I got invited to teach on the faculty at the Juilliard School and also at Manhattan School of Music, where they had programs that they called educational outreach. And I got to lead those programs. And so I was not only teaching, but I was also sending really talented artists out into New York City to go into schools and teach kids about the arts. And so it was amazing how the career paths came together. And I did that for years and years and years in New York City.
Talina, you put yourself on mute.
I don't know how that happened. Anyway, really began to love the two career pathway coming together into one. I eventually ended up at Segerstrom Center for the Arts about the same time Malika arrived, about little more than 11 years ago. And at Segerstrom Center, we have really large education programs. So if you're interested in sort of the mission part of life, if you're interested in serving other people, if you're interested in making sure that all kids have access to the arts in their schools, if you're interested in helping kids learn better through the arts, if you're interested in all of those things that help kids do better, that help students at all age levels do better in school, if you like helping kids learn about careers in the arts, it's our department, Bethany and I, who got to set up this meeting for you tonight. So if you're interested in working with students, teaching or talking about the arts, then this is a career that you would enjoy a lot. It's called education outreach, arts education outreach. Almost all organizations, small, medium, and large, have some sort of education programs, and they really work very closely with departments like Malika's department, the fundraising department, because donors love to see our programs in schools being successful, and they're helping that to happen. And we also work very closely with Kay's department, who helps us put on performances that we do for families, and also many other things that we do at the center. We really, really love to do those kinds of things. There is another part of the kind of work that we do called community engagement or community development. And almost all arts organizations, small, medium, and large, have some form of community engagement. And that's when you work with organizations in your community to help them serve the people they're working with very, very closely. These are the two areas where, if you are highly mission-minded, if you love to serve others, if you love to work with students, if you're really, really interested in making sure that every person gets to benefit from the arts in your community, which is such an important part of what we do, then education and community outreach or community development engagement are terrific paths for you to think about. And you just can't go wrong if you're the kind of person who really enjoys talking to people, helping people learn, helping people figure out how to learn. It's exactly the way that they learn, because you don't learn like I do, and I don't learn like they do. We have to figure out each individual way for people to be most connected to the arts and into their education. So we're really lucky at the center to get to do this kind of programming in a big way. We serve many hundreds of thousands of people. We work all across Southern California. We have so many people who come to us and ask us to help them sort of solve problems at their schools. And it's just a great career path for those who are interested in this kind of work. My advice to you as far as, well, let me talk a little about our programs, although Bethany talked a little about it. We have summer camps. We have camps for students who are high risk and who need the direction of the arts and the creative process. We work in schools. We've actually worked in Irvine Unified many times and did a huge collaboration with Irvine Unified just a few years ago. So we're always working out in our school community, but some career advice for you. Your career will not be the same as anyone else's. Even if you want to do exactly what your dad or your mom or your cousin or what I've done or what Kay has done or what Malika has done, even if you want to do exactly that, just know that your career will be different than anyone else's, and you have to make your own way. You have to figure out how to do it your own way. There will be challenges, and you're going to be better at some things and not as good as others at some things. But make your own pathway and make sure that you know what you want to do and what you enjoy the most, and keep setting that goal and moving forward. I think that's probably what all of us did. Basically, most of the people here on this call tonight are kids who were once your age who loved the arts. We were singers, we were dancers, we were in the band, we were theater people, we were all involved in the arts in our schools, and we found our way, not on stage. We probably could have, but for one reason or another, we all found a way to do what we love every single day. And that is participate in the arts, help others participate in the arts, and also we get to be around what we love our entire career. So if you're one of us, just a little bit younger, and in some cases a lot younger, that's how you do this. Just keep going and make sure that you keep your eyes on the goal and what you would like to do going forward. So that's how education, community engagement works. And again, almost every small, medium, and large company, theater company, or performing arts organization, or symphony, or chorus, or any other organization that does the arts have an education and a community engagement part of their work. With that said, I think it's time for me to send this all back over to Bethany.
Hi again, everyone. I hope you enjoyed hearing from everyone. I sure did. I always love hearing from all of these wonderful women of the center. So my one piece of advice, which I didn't give one, is never be afraid to ask. Ask questions, ask for help, ask for advice. Not only will it help you learn more, but it will help you connect with other people more. So I'm going to ask you to put that to work. We have 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can I encourage you to put your cameras on now if you want to. Hopefully don't crash the whole system, but if you want to put your cameras on, great. You can ask us a question that way. Raise your hand, raise your digital hand. I'll try to scan through and Ari maybe can help me, or you can put questions in the chat, but we have just a few minutes. So if you have a question you'd like to ask, now is the time. I am going to tell you before that, if you have a question that you forget about, or you don't want to ask in front of everyone for whatever reason, although I say have courage, you can email us I'm going to give you our education email. It's just the word education at SCFTA, that's S as in Sam, C as in cat, T as in Tom, F as in Frank, A, it stands for Segerstrom Center for the Arts.org. So you can also email us there if you want to follow up at all. But does anyone have any questions that they want to ask? All right. We have a question saying, can we talk more about union versus non-union and how you get more involved in that? Sarah, do you want to field this for us? Don't forget to come off mute, Sarah.
I never muted myself, so I didn't know I was. So to get involved with the union, the local union is named Local 504. It's the IATSE union, and it's the stagehand union that is all across the country and Canada. And you actually just call the local office and you tell them you want to be on the casual list. As far as non-union work goes, we do have a department that does that, and you can contact the center about that. They are part of our theater operations, and they do a lot of the work on the plaza or in our lobbies for the smaller events as opposed to the large scale ones.
Any other questions? All right. Well, if we don't have any, we'll wrap up a couple minutes early here. But again, you can follow up with us. Sarah dropped the email in the chat. Thank you, Sarah, if you want to follow up. And we really appreciate you being here tonight. I hope you learned something. And I wish you luck on your journeys forward as you graduate or go to college or start a career. We wish you all the best. And always feel free to come back to us and ask questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.